Hi, welcome back to TV Spoilers. Keb, how about referring to Rapid Shoots? Stay tuned to see what happens to Victor in the next episode.
Young and the Restless reveal that Phyllis understands that Victor's greatest weapon has never been money or muscle, but fear carefully measured, strategically delivered, and always aimed at the most vulnerable place in a person's life. When Victor keeps pressing Cain with ominous hints that Lily and the children are in danger, Cain's mind begins to unravel under the weight of that possibility. He doesn't need proof to panic. He only needs the image Victor plants one harsh enough to make him imagine the worst and punish himself with it over and over. Victor doesn't have to show his hand. He only has to tighten the pressure until Cain believes surrender is the only way to keep his family alive. That is exactly why Phyllis senses something wrong. Cain's terror feels too perfectly aligned with Victor's goal. The threat escalates in a rhythm that feels rehearsed, as if someone is timing Cain's breakdown to force a signature, a concession, a collapse. Phyllis watches Cain's desperation deepen, sees the shame underneath it as he realizes he's being controlled and still can't pull himself free. She doesn't indulge in helpless sympathy. Sympathy won't save anyone in Victor's world. Only truth will, and truth has to be hunted down with steady hands. So Phyllis begins to investigate quietly, without announcements, without dramatic confrontations, and without leaving Victor any scent to follow. She knows Victor's talent is convincing people they have no choice. If Cain is pushed far enough to see only one path forward, Victor wins without ever getting his hands dirty. Phyllis refuses to let that happen. She takes the long route, relying on the relationships and instincts she's built through years of surviving among predators. She follows the small details others overlook, how Victor avoids specifics, how smoothly the story flows, how every gap is designed to be filled by Cain's panic. She treats every lead like a live wire, rask enough to get the fact, stop before she creates a trail, and pin every answer to a larger picture that's slowly forming. She doesn't even need to know, at first, what Victor wants from Cain. She only needs to prove one thing: the danger is leverage, not reality. Piece by piece, the information begins to lock together in a way that makes Phyllis feel cold, not because she's afraid, but because the pattern is so brutally familiar. She realizes this isn't a vague threat at all. It's a sophisticated performance. Staged voices, planted sightings, carefully timed signals meant to create the illusion of captivity. Victor has engineered a situation that feels like a kidnapping without being one, just enough to keep Cain sleepless, disoriented, and desperate. Phyllis isn't shocked that Victor would do this. What enrages her is that he's willing to turn a family, children into props for his ambition. Once she traces the false kidnappers to paid actors and manufactured intimidation, she pushes deeper until she finds what matters most: solid proof that Lily and the children are safe. No confinement, no harm, no true danger other than the fear Victor planted like a seed and watered with every calculated word. That proof isn't just reassurance. It's a stake through the heart of Victor's manipulation. But Phyllis also knows truth only has power when it's delivered in the right way at the right moment. If she throws it out too quickly, Victor will twist it, deny it, or flip the narrative until Cain feels foolish for believing anything at all. So Phyllis chooses a direct confrontation with Victor first, not to beg him to stop, but to strike at what he values most: control. She doesn't need to raise her voice. She only needs to look at Victor like a man whose mask is slipping and set her evidence down like a blade on the table. She accuses him of manipulating and traumatizing innocent people for personal gain, and she makes sure Victor understands she hasn't collected guesses. She's collected proof. Victor may attempt to reframe it as a necessary tactic or try to poison Phyllis with doubt, but Phyllis has seen this kind of moral gymnastics before. She isn't there to debate ethics. She's there to cut the rope tightening around Cain's throat. When Victor realizes she can collapse his scheme, he's forced to shift from intimidation to calculation. And in that shift, Phyllis recognizes something rare: Victor's discomfort when he loses the advantage of being underestimated. Only then does Phyllis return to Cain, because Cain doesn't need another shock, he needs a lifeline. She gives him the truth in a way that restores his footing rather than humiliating him. Cain absorbs the evidence like someone who has just surfaced from drowning, shaking with relief and anger at the same time. The fact that Lily and the children are safe should feel purely joyful, yet it carries a bitter sting. He was dragged to the edge by a lie. Cain's gratitude to Phyllis runs deeper than words, not because she simply helped, but because she saw him breaking and reached him before he made a decision he couldn't undo. The fear in Cain's eyes turns into resolve. And in that moment, Victor loses his most powerful advantage: a panicked Cain who will do anything to make the threat stop. Phyllis and Cain begin to plan not with reckless rage, but with strategy built on facts. Phyllis understands that protecting Cain from Victor's next move means damaging Victor's most valuable asset, the myth of his inevitability. Victor is strongest when everyone believes he always has an unseen ace, always has the power to make his threats real. If Phyllis makes the evidence public, she doesn't just save Cain. She exposes Victor's method stage terror, psychological pressure, coercion disguised as concern. When that evidence hits the light, it creates a fracture in the wall of power Victor has spent a lifetime building. People may still fear him, but they start to question him. How many past warnings were real, and how many were manufactured to force obedience? Cain stands beside Phyllis when the truth is released, and for the first time in a long while, he isn't being dragged by fear. He feels indebted to Phyllis, but he also feels something sharper: a responsibility to refuse Victor's grip on his family. Phyllis doesn't need Cain to thank her. She needs him steady because she knows Victor won't forget this humiliation. And just as she expects, the tension doesn't vanish after the exposure. It mutates. It becomes the most dangerous kind of calm the quiet Victor uses when he's already building a new attack behind the scenes. Phyllis senses it even as others exhale, because she knows Victor's nature. When he's embarrassed, he doesn't retreat, he recalibrates. And the hook arrives when Phyllis, double-checking every thread to ensure Victor can't retaliate, notices a tiny detail buried inside the trail, an irregularity that doesn't fit Victor's usual signature. A link that suggests the staged kidnapping may have been exploited or altered by another unseen hand, turning Victor's intimidation into something more complicated, more volatile. Phyllis goes still, because if she's right, Lily and the children being safe today doesn't guarantee they'll be safe tomorrow, and this time, the person pulling the strings might not be Victor at all. On our TV Spoilers channel, I always seek content inspiration for each video by compiling short video clips to analyze and offer my personal opinions. This channel specializes in analyzing, theorizing, and discussing plot points in the Young and the Restless series from the perspective of a longtime fan. Through this, viewers can gain deeper, more objective, and more interesting perspectives. Subscribe to the channel to stay updated on the latest news about the Young and the Restless series.